want to explain exactly what I think is going on, why we are seeing this push of these laws to go after the 2% of the unvaccinated children, or 5%, depending on how they want to describe it, why it's important to remove exemptions, and what I think the plan is. I think that for a lot of people, we've just learned to accept that children get vaccinated. And those that don't get vaccinated, well, you're not with the herd, you're not with the group. I mean, look at how they're languaging it. They're calling you farm animals. They're doing that. I'm not doing that. They're saying you're a bunch of farm animals. In order to live with each other as farm animals, you have to be vaccinated just like we do our pigs. You got to get lined up just like we do our cows. And so that's the approach. And we've sort of accepted. We've just become complacent. And there's 90-something% of our children, for the most part, are being vaccinated on time with the schedule. And as I said, they're the sickest generation of children we've ever seen. And all of these laws now are going after that remaining 2 or 3% of kindergartners or third graders or seventh graders that aren't vaccinating. And I want you to really think about why, first of all, legislation is ever used, or why would an industry, it's the #1 most powerful lobby in Washington, is the pharmaceutical industry. They are outspending oil and gas, when you look at the numbers, 2 to 1. For every dollar Exxon and BP are spending, Merck and Pfizer are spending twice that. So you have to use some critical thinking and say, what are they doing there? Why are they buying so many politicians?
If it were safe, they wouldn't have to do that.
And is it just about drugs, or is it something else? And I'm here to tell you it's all about vaccines. It's all about the one product that they can mandate upon people, and they will have no choice. But here's what's happening. They're making you terrified of that 2% of unvaccinated children. Roughly a million or two, a couple million across the country now.
Yeah, but people are getting smart, and they're choosing not to vaccinate with flu, and they're choosing not to vaccinate.
But here's the thing. That money doesn't pay out. Spending millions and billions in Washington doesn't really, getting 2% of the children to vaccinate that aren't, is not where the money is. The money is in the adult mandated vaccine program. And this is what I really need people to wake up to. Yes. If you go to Health and Human Services, which is the mothership of our health department, they oversee, underneath them is FDA, CDC, NIH, and HRSA. That Health and Human Services website has Healthy People 2020, and they talk about a 100% compliance in the adult vaccine program. This is what this is all about. Pharma does not care about 1 or 2 million to 2% unvaccinated. They want 320 million adults being lined up, the entire population lined up for routine vaccinations. Now, they know the moment they do that there will be a huge pushback from millions, 50, 60, 100 million people that all say, wait, hold on a second. I had my vaccines as a kid. I've been perfectly healthy. I don't need vaccines now. My grandma didn't have them. My uncles don't have them. I'm doing just fine. And that reason that would kick in would stop this program to force vaccinate all adults. It's sort of the reason why we, have our soldiers are 18 to 22, because if you say charge that bunker, an 18-year-old will just do it without questioning it. Ask a 40-year-old to charge a bunker that has machine gun fire coming out of it. They go, over my dead body, and that's exactly what it would be. Exactly. I'm not doing that. Yes. Same thing with the vaccine program. They know they're going to get pushback, and here's what they want to do. They want to remove your exemptions, your ability to exempt out before they get to the adult program. They want all of you to have complied for your children and allowed the legislators to remove your religious exemption, to remove your philosophical exemption, because they know every one of you will use it once the adult mandate comes. So they're using the fear of this 2% of children, the fear of measles, which hasn't killed anybody in America really in 2 decades. They want to use that fear to have you give up your rights, that eventually it will come to you and you will have nowhere to turn. And here's how it's going to work. Okay. It's going to be using the real ID. This entire push for an ID that's a universal ID used in America and around the world. It'll essentially use it'd be just like your passport. You won't be able to get in your car. You won't be able to get on a plane. You won't be able to go anywhere without that ID. They're going to tie that ID into you having to be vaccinated in your yearly updated vaccines. That is where this is all going. It's really simple. It's really obvious. And
Scary.
when you look at journalism, as journalists, when you investigate something, the question is, show me the money. Where is the money? Like, show me the money and I'll explain to you what the motivation is. Think about this right now.
Is it money or is it control? Controlling the masses?
I think it's both, but I
Okay.
think ultimately, mostly it's money. I think it's just like the housing market. Everyone knew that was inside selling tranche loans and this terrible product that it was going to crash at some point, and they were all just going to go to their islands they purchased and their mansions in the hills and walk away and get a job somewhere else. That's mostly what I think is happening with the pharmaceutical industry too. Most of these people are just making a killing. If they can get politicians to do their bidding, great. And if the science actually comes forward and everything that we're putting out there actually wins and people recognize, oh my God, this is a scam and my children are actually sicker, they'll just walk off in the sunset with their millions of dollars. But look at the industry itself. Look at the numbers themselves. Right now, the vaccine program is a multi-billion-dollar program. And for people that say that vaccines don't make money for the industry, I can show you multiple articles right now that show you the top 3 products by Pfizer, of Merck. It's their vaccines. The vaccines.
They can go to I Can Decide for that information.
That's right. You can find all of that information. But here's the point. It's a billion-dollar industry now, and we're only vaccinating the kids. And we're really only going after that 2%. When you suddenly turn on the vaccine program for over 320 million Americans, multiply that by the thousands of dollars of vaccines, and you suddenly, overnight, turn this billion-dollar industry into a trillion-dollar industry, and the pharmaceutical company, the industries, will become the most powerful industry, the richest industry in the world. Oil, guns, none of it will touch it as soon as the adult mandate kicks in.